Hey, Joe here from churchfacebookads.com. In this video, I'm talking to you all about what do you do when everybody in your church doesn't understand why you should be using church Facebook ads. Now, maybe you've watched some of my videos and maybe this is your first time here, but you're thinking, hey, church Facebook ads, that sounds like it could work for us. Basically, it's running Facebook ads for your church if you didn't get that part already. But that is what I'm going to talk to you about today, is getting everybody else on board, who to get on board, what to say, what to leave out, and how to ultimately help your church grow on social media, because that is the goal of this channel. It just so happens that Facebook ads is how we're going to do it, but ultimately I'm just trying to help your church for free to grow your social media following, get more people engaged, like beyond just liking, commenting, and sharing, but actually tracking how do they take action with your church when it comes to signing up for a group, attending an experience online, or maybe signing up for a conference that you have, and ultimately getting plugged into your church and becoming like somebody who's serving with your church, who loves and has a heart for your church. Because online church now is changing so much. We actually all are having to hop on the online church train with COVID happening. So I'm going to go into 3 things that you should think about when you're sharing with your pastor, with your boss, with your team. Maybe you are the leader that has to make this decision. I'm going to help you think about that. So number 1 is look at the current landscape of what you have on social media. So are you tracking your engagement on social media? You probably look at followers, and that's like your metric right now. But start looking at that and say, where are we now? How much are we growing month over month? That will give you a good gauge to say, like, hey, what would success look like if we used ads and actually paid to get some of these same results? So maybe you're growing by 100 followers a week. Now, if you looked at using ads, you could say, hey, let's set a benchmark of with ads, in place, we're going to be growing 200 people a week, spending $5 a day. Maybe your number is engagements, and that's the number that you guys look at on social media as success, and that's what you use as a success metric. I actually have a great book right here. If you have not heard of this book, it's called Measure What Matters by John Doerr. Sorry if I messed up your name, John. But it talks all about brands like MyFitnessPal, brands like even brands like YouTube, which of course we're on right now. You probably can't see that it's being washed out, but and even NFL football teams. And basically John and his team, they developed a system called OKRs, which stands for Objectives and Key Results. And that is a system that they used at Google, at Amazon, and at Microsoft. And what that allows teams to do, especially churches, and I used this when I was at Elevation with our social media team, is align from the top of leadership all the way down to make sure that everybody's on the same page, heading in the right direction, so you have more team momentum heading towards your goals. So number 1 is understanding what are those key metrics that we look at, and that's going to help us see, can we actually move the needle on those. Number 2 is understanding what is your overall leadership objective, because if leadership is saying, hey, we need to grow groups, it's going to be a lot easier for you as a social media manager to look at that and say, okay, well, you guys know that right now on social media, we don't really know how many people are looking at our content, engaging with our content, and then ultimately signing up for a group. But if we use Facebook ads, we can actually track how much, down to the penny, it costs for people to sign up for our groups. Now, that's, maybe for your church, it's in-person attendance. Then you can start talking to them about that. So you want to lead, when you're talking to leadership, with what the thing that is most important to them is. Maybe you don't know what that is right now. That's where you ask. But if you're looking for a framework on how to set goals from the top down, I would recommend this book, Measure What Matters. It is phenomenal. I've read it like 2 or 3 times, and it's great on just helping you understand how to align with leadership's goals. Ultimately, so you can make decisions and help influence, using things like Facebook ads for your church. based around what leadership wants. So I would just say number 2 is basically understanding what's important to leadership and helping them understand how Facebook ads is going to help you on social media to hit that ultimate objective. And number 3, in just kind of helping them understand, is write it down. Write out a plan. Take some action in saying, hey, here's what we're gonna do. Here's a forecast of what we can expect if we did this. Say, writing down, once you know the goal. Say it's online community group signups, and this is all new to your church. Your church is just getting started on Zoom. Your church is just setting all this up. That's okay. And you've never done this before, but you want to start off with some sort of educated guess. So let's say you're currently getting 5 signups a month. Let's say we want to get to where we're getting 20 signups a month. So we're going to get an additional 15 every month. Then we would just write out, let's make a Google Slides deck breaking down, this is where we'd want to be in the next 3 months. We want to get 15 extra a month. That's going to equal 45 over the next 3 months, and here's what we think it's going to cost for one of the signups. You can just estimate it's going to be $50 for one signup in a group, and then you just do the math. 50 times 45, and that's going to give you the budget you're going to need for the next 3 months on Facebook ads. And then you're going to now go do the homework. You're going to come to channels like mine and learn, how do you track these things? How do you can ask questions in the comments, guys, if you have questions around specific metrics to your church, and I'm going to help you, to be able to do that. And then also you can watch a bunch of other videos on YouTube around church Facebook ads, or just around Facebook ads, and apply them to your church. Because not just my channel is the only channel that talks about Facebook ads. Obviously, there's tons of good information. That's how I learned early on. I just happened to apply it to the church because it's a little different than when you're selling a product or a service. But you can learn, there's so much information out there already, as well as checking out Facebook groups like church social media managers, like church comms. There's so many Facebook groups with so many helpful, wonderful people out there that are willing to help you out for free. So it's really just starts with getting clear on that last piece is that plan, and writing down something, anything, just get it out of your head onto a actual plan that you can then present to leadership, and wait till you get shut down 10 times before you call it quits. I see a lot of social media managers in some of these groups talking about leadership doesn't believe in social media. And I wonder, how many times did you present them a written plan saying, here's what we're going to do, and they turned you down? And my rule of thumb is always get turned down 10 times inside of an organization before you just say, hey, I'm not going to try that anymore. Because a lot of times the timing isn't right. Maybe you didn't ask enough questions up front to know what their focus is right now, and you're bringing this random idea about running ads to get more engagement, but they're saying we want to grow groups. So you have to ask questions before you go into these conversations, and then just kind of feel it out before you go in. If they're in a very stressed state, let's not talk about that right now then, and go into this, hey, let's try this new thing. If they're always in a stressed state, you may have to go into that, the best time to do that. I don't. But I just want to share that with you to say, like, hey, write it down, get a written plan, put some sort of forecast, an educated guess, because this is new to a lot of churches. This is always new to different businesses. There's no this is exactly what it's going to cost. Here's exactly what we're going to get. If it was, then every church would be doing it already. But I just want to encourage you to write it down, create some sort of plan, and get started, because the opportunity is huge for your church to use Facebook ads. But if you never start and you never break past the barriers of doing, and still sticking to just posting organically and wondering why the algorithm is stuffing down your content and not showing it to new people who you want to see your content, then you're just kind of stuck, and you're going to be stuck until eventually the church says, hey, you know what, we don't really understand the connection from social media to the actual church growth, and then they're going to roll your role into something else. And I just see that coming. I see it coming. It's the writing's on the wall. The algorithm is killing content, especially for smaller brands, I'll say, like churches, because our content probably isn't getting engaged with like some of the other brands are. So yeah, I just wanted to share this with you. Hopefully it's helpful in, giving you 3 ways to think about how to convince your team or your leadership, or just communicate to your team if you are the leader how we're going to use Facebook ads to grow our church. And just to recap, number one is going to be, understanding what matters to you right now, just defining like that goal. What are we going to go for? Or understanding like where you are, and then defining that goal. And number two, based on what your leadership actually is interested in right now, and their vision for your church, and then ultimately writing it out in a plan. So, like I said, number one is just really understanding your numbers, like looking at Facebook, looking at Instagram, understanding your follower growth, understanding engagement, understanding things that, what are your benchmarks right now? What are we getting for signups for groups and all that stuff? And then number two is just asking questions to the right people. It could be your boss, it could be senior pastor, senior leadership, asking them how, where do we see ourselves going right now? What's most important to us? And then bringing them a plan, incorporating what's most important to them and also your data that you have currently. That's going to establish the trust with you and them. And ultimately, you're helping leadership to take your church further through Facebook ads. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Once again, my name is Joe from churchfacebookads.com, and I'm here to help you grow your social media engagement, grow your church ultimately through social media using Facebook ads. And I'd love to serve you in any way I can by answering your questions with the video. All you got to do is leave a comment below. Thank you guys so much, and have a great weekend. Have a great week. And hopefully you guys have some more new people at your online service this weekend. I know a lot of churches right now are, just figuring out what online looks like, when we'll be going back to church in the midst of COVID. And just know I'm praying for your church, for you. Genuinely, I know how tough it can be as a social media manager to continue to try to come up with new content. Try to, every time you're creating content, you're like, hopefully it's going to get more reach, and then it doesn't. And then you're like, man, we spent so much time. What should we do? Should we copy another church of what they do? Should we post more stories? Should we be interacting more? But people aren't even interacting with us. Like, I get all the struggles. I've been around social media teams for a while, and I get how it feels. So just keep going. Hopefully some of these tips are helpful to you in helping you on your day-to-day work, as well as just leveling up in your knowledge when it comes to social media. So thank you guys for watching another video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Make sure to check out a video, subscribe I think up here or here, and watch a video, one of these ones, okay? All right, see you later.